YouTube, it is the 1st of August in-game, which can only mean one thing. Sound the transfer klaxon. It is a transfer special. It has been the busiest of summers at Carrow Road, as we have brought in a huge number of players and let go even more in order to make a squad that's ready to assault the Premier League. We're going to go through the outgoings first and then go into the incomings before discussing sort of any further business that's left to be done ahead of, as you can see on screen, our first game against Southampton in just 8 days' time. So before we go any further, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about how I like to build a team in Football Manager. I tend to try to avoid signing players that are well known in the Football Manager community. So my example of this would be looking back at FM20, Sebastian Esposito. This is a guy who, as I'm sure you already know, if you're watching this video, I'm assuming you like Football Manager, and I'm assuming you played the last game, and I'm assuming you know about Esposito because he was probably the hot striker of the series. He's a player who I saw so many different Football Manager YouTube series purchase, so many Twitch players as well end up with Sebastian Esposito in their side. I enjoy finding players, and for me, finding players is finding someone that your scout has been and seen, or finding somebody that you have found yourself by going through players and going through match reports and finding players that are playing particularly well for their teams at the time. So before we look ahead at the season and the players that we've brought in, we need to look back at season 1 just one last time, and that's because when you last were with us, we had obviously been promoted ourselves. Bournemouth were just about to be promoted, but we hadn't played the playoffs, and the Premier League still hadn't finished their season. So you can see from the league table in front of us, it was Brentford that join us and Bournemouth as the teams that are going up. And the 3 teams relegated from the Championship, Barnsley, Rotherham and Wickham, 3 teams that perhaps are not too surprising to see down there in those bottom 3. Whereas comparatively, the Premier League showed some real surprises. West Brom finished bottom with 27 points. Joining them on 27 points is Brighton, but ahead of them on goal difference. And West Ham United, 34 points, seeing them relegated as well. Which surprised me, really. I expected to see other teams down there ahead of West Ham United, but nonetheless, there they are. And you can see winning the division, Manchester City, 89 points. 84 points saw Liverpool come in 7th. In second, Chelsea finished 3rd in 72 points, and Manchester United 4th with 69 points. That finishes the top 4. The teams joining them in the Europa League, Tottenham and Arsenal in 5th and 6th respectively, with 61 and 59 points, and also on 59 points, perhaps the surprise of the season, Fulham. They go into the Europa Conference League, the Europa Conference League, which is the league no one actually gives a toss about. So as promised, we're starting with the outgoings, and you can see a total of 24 players have left Carrow Road, either on loan or on a permanent transfer. And if we sort these out into fees, you will see probably the most important of those right at the top. Lucas Rupp, he's gone off to Schalke for £14.5 million. The guy was 30 years of age. He did okay when called upon, but played a bit part for us last season, and as a result of which, it is not somebody I figured was going to get into the side enough in order to justify having him around. And £14.5 million is a massive fee. And then Tim Krul, last season's number 1, has moved to Bournemouth for 5.75, which will rise to 7.5 million. Again, he was in the last year of his contract. He's 33 years of age. I have purchased a replacement, and he is somebody that I was hoping was going to provide challenge for that new player, but maybe not necessarily needs to be kept around. And then you see we've let go a number of loanees, a number of players from the youth team players that were out on loan, we have made maybe less than, I don't know, what's £700,000 for a lot of them. Players like Lewis Thompson, he's gone. Melbourne City, he never got a chance here, but he wasn't ever going to develop into anything worth keeping around. Aston Oxborough, he's gone off. He's 23 years of age, and I thought we had some other goalkeepers coming through. So, you know, players like him, they are on the way out for whatever money we could get. And then we let go a couple of players on frees as well. Tom Tribal off to Hanover on a free transfer. It's a shame I couldn't get a fee for him. I was hoping to get at least £1 million, but it just didn't work out. So he's ended up going on a free, but has freed up his wages in order to move on. And then you've got players I'm hoping I'll see develop, like Sam McCallum, Sebastian Soto and Josh Martin, all three of which have gone to very good clubs. McCallum's at Hull, who are now in the Championship, I believe. Soto's at Doncaster, who are in League One, and Josh Martin also at QPR in the Championship. So three very good moves for three potentially very good young players. Those are the outgoings. What about the incomings? We've signed some new staff. Yeah, I know, you're not that interested. We'll move on to the players. So I've highlighted for you on the screen now the transfers from the end of last season, which were made at the end of the season, meaning that they're actually for next season. So why they're in the 2021 column, I don't know. But Ben Gibson, as I mentioned, we had to make him a permanent signing, and he joins us for £8 million. I then signed a young goalkeeper from Swedish side Elfsborg. He's 22. I bought him for £1.9 million. He's a player I've never heard of before, but my scouts picked out, and I tell you what, I became very impressed very, very quickly. He has 4-star potential ability, 3-star current ability, but he is a towering goalkeeper standing at 6'7", with a model citizen personality. He has a determination of 14, positioning of 15, aerial reach 18, command of the penalty area of 15, handling 15, one-on-ones 14, reflexes 14. He is already a very good goalkeeper, and I brought him in order to challenge Tim Krul, but as already explained, Mr. Krul has gone off to Bournemouth, so he is now my undisputed number one. But I bought to challenge him Jamal Blackman from Chelsea, another towering goalkeeper, also 6'6", so we're not lacking height in the goalkeeper department. He's a young lad who is not really going to improve anymore like Tim Ronning is, but he's good enough to be I suppose, an alternative, a choice for us. He came on a free as well, so good business there considering we let go Tim Krul for 7.25 million, or what I hope will become 7.25 million. And brought him in instead. The next player we signed was a bargain. He's quite expensive for what he is, but he is a player who I think will develop into something very special indeed. He is a Belgian defensive midfield stroke midfield centre. He played, I should say, for Stuttgart. We signed him for £7 million. So not a small fee, but he is a good player with good abilities. He is Aurel Mangala, Belgian, 23 years of age. He is a box-to-box midfielder and comes in to fill the void that Ollie Skip will leave by his passing, albeit that he is one of two players I've bought to do that. But if you look, he has average technicals, passing of 13, tackling of 12, technique of 14, long shots of 11, first touch 12, dribbling 13. So he's okay, but it is his mentals and his physicals that really attracted me to him. A determination of 16, bravery 16, work rate 16, stamina 16, natural fitness 17, balance 16. This guy is the proper Duracell bunny of the side. He can go and go and go for days. Josh Doig is a young left back I signed from Hibernian. He's only 18, somebody who will be coming along for the future. So we'll skip right ahead to Blackburn's Adam Armstrong. Now, this guy is somebody I've had my eye on for some time, because there aren't too many strikers that can offer you a finishing of 14, a composure of 13, and pace and acceleration of 17 and 18 respectively. And if you look at his player traits, he likes to shoot from distance, he likes to try to beat the offside trap, he knocks the ball past the opponent, cuts inside from both wings, tries the first time shot and runs with the ball often. This guy is somebody who is going to pick up the ball, is going to run with pace at defences, and he's going to look to beat defences. And best of all, I got a message from my inbox saying that he had been transfer listed for just £6.5 million. That is an absolute bargain for somebody who last season got 20 goals in the Championship for Blackburn, and who I'm confident I can get 15 to 20 goals out of, and will go straight into the first team, I suspect, competing alongside Timu Pukki for that number 9 sort of starting striker. Now, I spoke when I talked about Orel Mangala about having another player who's come in for the box-to-box midfielder role, and this is the guy in question, Frank Onyeka. There is some real value for money in the Danish and Norwegian and Swedish leagues in Football Manager 2021, not least of which this guy. He cost me £9 million, so not a small amount of money. But look at this guy. In terms of his mentals and his physicals, the guy is absolutely crazy. He's 23 years of age. He has the potential to be 4-star ability with 3.5-star at present. He has a pace and acceleration of 17 and 16, accordingly stamina of 16, determination of 17, work rate of 17, aggression of 16. This is a guy who is going to be the engine room of my team. Whilst Orel Mangala is a player I like, this guy is better, I think, and as a result of which he is going to be the starting player. Probably the signing of the summer, my key star signing, Amin Guri. Now, I know I said a little bit earlier that I like to pick up players that aren't well known in Football Manager circles, and I know Amin Guri is one of those players who is very well known, especially for being a very good player to pick up last year. He's not quite the same level of player. I think he is a good player still. And he is perfect for what I'm hoping to do with him, but I don't think he's quite the same world-class potential that he had in previous versions of the game. He is going to be playing out on that left as an inside forward. He's going to be linking with that front striker, and I think he can score me the goals that I need to stay up. He is a very good player indeed, and you see already his value is 21.5 million, despite only purchasing him for 12.25 million. He really was an absolute bargain of a purchase. So you've seen there, that's if you count Ben Gibson, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 signings, 7 if you include Josh Doig. Let's get to the incomings that have been signed this season. And at the top there is a familiar name, Xavi Quintilla. I had to buy him, really. He was a very good backup choice. He wanted only a squad rotation contract. I think he will do well when he needs to be called upon. He's a decent player who has the potential to become even better, and that's why I brought him in. You can't really get a better backup left back for that amount of money either. Now, I've also bought 2 centre-backs, Musa Nikati being the first. He comes from Maine, costing me £8 million. I think I did that over a period of time as well, so I think I'm paying £4 million up front and paying the rest over instalments. But you can see when you look at him just why I wanted him. He is a good player who's quick, great personality, great abilities. The one thing that lets him down is a heading of 12, and that is going to be something I'm going to have to look out for. But he has got jumping reach of 17 and strength of 15, so I'm hoping those 2 things together will make up for the fact that his technical ability with headers is not all that great. But he's somebody I think is going to slot straight into the left centre-back position and will be a very good acquisition for us. And I'm hoping he builds a good partnership with this guy, Diogo Queiroz. Portuguese, comes from Famalicão, and when you look at him, you see why I've been so keen to bring him in. He is a very good all-round centre-back. He's got decent enough pace, natural fitness of 16, good strength and stamina, very good mentals, and very good technicals. He is so. he will be, again, the other guy who partners Musa Nikati in the back with Zimmerman, Godfrey, honestly, he went to Everton. Zimmerman, Hanley, and Ben Gibson playing backup, really. So between those two wonderful centre-backs, like a rose between two thorns, another familiar name, Bubba Rahman has joined the club permanently. He came to the club for an absolute steal of a price, £4.6 million, and I could have got him cheaper, but I chose to ask for Chelsea to pay a sum of money towards. So he's actually being paid £23,500 a week by Chelsea, and that is going to be for the next year. And then he's on a contract with us for £29,500 a week. I'm fairly pleased to get him in because he did so well, but I think he's going to be a player that we're going to have to look to replace at the end of next season. And will be our first choice left back, at least for this season. The next signing is Liran Castrati, a Kosovan, 22 years of age, a guy who can play both left and right with equal measures. This guy fits so nicely into my tactic that I had to buy him, even though I didn't really need him. So he comes in as somebody who can offer us pace, someone who can offer us determination and good off the ball, and somebody who can play left or right. And I expect him to play quite a bit when perhaps Guri isn't doing so well, and perhaps Amin Guri needs a bit of a rest. And then finally, the most recent signing I've made is a loan signing. It is Liverpool's Marko Grujic, the Serbian international who is going to sit in front of my back four as my defensive playmaker. He's going to be spreading the ball around and starting my attacks, I think. He comes in as immediately my second best midfielder behind Frank Onyeka. And he's somebody I think is going to offer me something a bit different to what I've got there already. At the minute, we have Jakob Sorensen and we have Rocky Bullshoe. And I'm trying to loan out Rocky, I must admit, in order to get him some first team experience. So Jakob is more of a traditional defensive midfielder. This guy, Marco, is more of a playmaker. So he's going to be the deep lying playmaker on defensive. He's going to sit in front of that back four and hopefully spray balls out to start counter-attacks and start attacks himself. And that, my friends, is everything. We now have a very big squad, but a very well-rounded squad in my view. We need still some other players. It's true I really did want to find another striker as well, because I had hoped to bring in a new first choice, so top quality striker. And I had my eye on this bloke, Jean-Pierre Nassame, Cameroonian international. He played for Young Boys in, is it Sweden? Switzerland, sorry. Scored a plethora of goals. I had a bid of 16 million accepted for him. It was a bit like meeting an attractive member of the opposite sex at the bar. You know, you caught each other's eyes across the bar. You had sidled up next to them. You talked sweet nothings into their ear and made all sorts of promises, like how you're going to make them vice captain, how you're going to give them a massive pay rise, which you then offered, how you're going to make them a key part of the team and playing in absolutely any position that they wanted to, only for Marseille to steam in at the last minute and ended up signing him instead for less money than what you offered him. So obviously he wanted to go off and play for Marseille, which are a team with European honours and things like that, and he slots straight into their first team. We're looking to play this. You can see, looking at the team, our best team according to them has Amin Guri up front, who is not somebody I bought to be a centre forward, but maybe that would work out. And that allows us to play Castrati in on the left and Buendia on the right, Carlos Elena and Frank Onyeka in the middle of central midfield, Grujic as the deep line playmaker and defensive midfield, and then a back four of Bubba Rahman on one side, Max Aarons on the other, Nikati and Quiros through the middle, and Tim Ronning as my number one. So you're looking at that, really, four familiar names from last season in terms of Buendia, Aarons, Rahman and Carlos Elena having survived the summer. And a look at the squad depth as well shows that, yes, really, we are looking weakest in the striker positions. Everywhere else, apart from left back, does have players who at least get 3.5 stars, which is what I was hoping to do. I'm not too fussed. I think Bubba Rahman can perform for us this season, so maybe left back doesn't need a new addition. But But as I say, if the right striker comes along, then I certainly wouldn't be opposed to getting the checkbook out again. So as I've already mentioned, there are still some players I'm hoping to get off the books before we start the season as well. Tim Closer, he returned to the club and has turned down 2 or 3 offers that I have accepted bids for. Primislav Pacheta, he is sadly just somebody who has unfortunately fallen behind with the purchases that we've made. There has been minor interest in him, but nothing enough in order to justify moving him on yet. So I'm hoping to get a decent offer for him. And we're trying to loan out, as I've mentioned several times now, Rocky Bolshiri, who I think is not going to get a game unless we do. So hopefully I can get a loan club for him, which will hopefully aid in his development. We'll see. So just a quick look at pre-season before we then finish this episode. You can see we played in a friendly cup against the Jakio and Tambov. Quite who these was in there with us, I don't know, but you see against the Jakio we won 3-1 with Todd Cantwell, Frank Onyeka and Adam Armstrong scoring. And against Tambov we won 4-0 with Todd Cantwell, Adam Armstrong, Adam Eder scoring twice. Hamilton we can only muster a 1-1 draw. Again Adam Armstrong popping up with the goal. Against FC Dordrecht, Adam Eder, Todd Cantwell, Frank Onyeka and Timu Puki scoring the 4 goals that saw us overcome them. Citadella, we played and beat 3-1. Buendia scoring twice and Adam Eder making up the numbers there. And finally, Lecce, we won 4-0. Frank Onyeka, Amin Guri, Emiliano Buendia and Adam Eder, the goal scorers in that match. We've got Southampton, Leicester and Burnley as our first 3 matches in the Premier League. So nice, gentle introduction in comparison to what could have been, and certainly in comparison to September, where we then play Arsenal away, Liverpool at home and Manchester City away. So I'm hoping there to pick up at least a good number of points so that when we get to here, if we lose every single match, we're not at least looking over our shoulders thinking, where are we going to pick these points up next? I mean, even after that, we go to Chelsea at home. So we play there 4 of the top 6, which is never a nice period of games, is it? So we'll come back next week for Southampton and maybe Leicester as well. It might very well be, I've not yet decided how I'm going to do this, but for season 2 I may just do the 1 match and may just focus perhaps on extended highlights rather than key highlights, so making it a bit longer but making the overall videos a bit shorter. Let me know what you think about that in the comments below. I'd be very grateful to hear any thoughts or any suggestions as to that proposal. Those are the transfers that we've made so far. What do you think? Have I done quite well with the funds I had so far? We had £50 million to start off with. That's something I haven't mentioned until now. And I think we still have a further £20 million or so left to spend. I'm certainly looking at another striker. I'm certainly maybe also looking at a central midfielder as well, or a defensive midfielder, because the backup after Grucic is rather thin. So 2 more players maybe to come in, and maybe another 3 or 4 to go out as well. Who knows? But join us next time. We come back for the first game of the season against Southampton away. It's on telly as well, so that will be interesting. We'll get all the fancy graphics. But thank you for joining us. Thank you for the support for this. If you like what you see, please tell the world, tell everybody how much you like this series and share it amongst your friends. Subscribe, like the video, leave comments, talk to me on Twitter. Do all those things. I'd be very, very grateful and very, very glad to hear from you. So thank you very much once again. Take care. Goodbye.
I got ants in my pants.